Hey everyone, Brett Kelly here for another 45 Drives tech tip. This week I wanted to talk to you guys about packaging source code in an RPM package. This is something that, like, if anyone's tried to do this on the internet and do their research and talk to people, it's one of those ones where there's lots of information. There's almost too much information. You go read the how-tos and the full specifications on how to build RPMs from source. There's a lot of stuff there. So, kind of like me, I like to make these videos sometimes where it's like something that, like, I wish this topic or video existed when I was dipping my toes into how to do this. So I'm going to stay pretty general, but I'm just going to walk you through the process of setting up an RPM build environment, pulling some source code down, packaging it up with RPM, and then installing it with Yum. So let's go over to my desk and let's get into it. Let's build some RPM packages.
Okay, so let's build an RPM from source. So in this example, I'm going to build a Python dependency that I would have needed for the SCSI packages. So why this is necessary is if I do a quick yum install python rtslib, okay, it's in the repos, but this version is older than what I need. So what I could do is I could use python pip. I don't want to use pip. I want to have everything on RPM. I trust that. I want it all to build through that way. So how do I build my own RPM package for that? So luckily in this case we can generate a spec file. That's the specification file used to build the RPM package through the source. So I've got the steps laid out on the side here, so let's go through it. We're going to build Python rtslib from source into an RPM package. So first of all, we have to prepare our build environment. So I created a new VM here to do this test. If anyone's built an RPM package already, you've probably got this build environment, so you can skip this step. And be careful, because if you do have one and you run this command, it could lose your RPM macros. But there's my disclaimer for the day. So we're going to make a directory called RPM, and stupid putty, copy, paste. So make a directory called RPM. Should I install this tree? Ooh, can't spell today. I blame this keyboard. Tree RPM build. So build a directory called that. Boom, boom, boom. We'll be placing the source code in sources. We put the specs files in spec, and then it just deals with everything else. So we got to create our macro file. Copy, paste. Okay, cool. So let's pull down the source code. So I've got a command saved here. I got this link from here. So rtslib releases. So I've got version 2.1.fb73. The SCSI packages require, I think it was at least 71. So that's why I chose that one. So I'm going to pull that down to like where I put that. I'm just going to do this manually then, because I always get the syntax that throw command wrong from memory. It's because I have to give it the file name too. Whatever, it's down there now. So we're going to untar this. That's great, but we're going to rename it because I want this to have a different, very distinct name. Because remember when I searched for it with here, I need the repos because other packages, I need the package to have this exact name because that's what other dependencies will be looking for. If I build it as rtsfb, it won't satisfy any dependencies. So I'm in sources, so I'm going to move rtslib to that, python rtslib dash 2.1 dot fb 73, because that'll match what's the name of the package in the default Yum repos, therefore will satisfy the dependency conditions and any other RPM that requires this. No, I'll do that. So that's there. So I'm just going to get rid of this tar because I don't need it anymore. So there's that. Wonderful. I do have to tar it up again. So I'm going to do C create VF. I'm going to go python.tar.gz. And that looks all good to me. That creates that. So now I've got my source directory, which this is really what RPM is going to look for, the tar.gz file, but it very clearly needs to have this name, and then the folder in it has to have the exact same name. So that's why I did that renames thing. Okay, so my source is prepared now, but now I need a spec file so RPM knows how to build this. So I'm going to go into the directory that I left there. See that setup.py. I'm just going to edit this. I'm going to go down and I'm going to find name, and I got to change this, remember, because this is going to have to match what I want it to be called. So I want to call Python rtslib. I don't want the FB in it. And for version, I believe I just want to do that. Okay, so the version in there now. Let's generate the spec only. So run this command. It's going to run setup.py. Give me an RPM, but only make me the spec, and I'm just going to label it myself as a package. So I'm going to run that, and it didn't like that because I'm missing dependencies. So fresh system here. That's one of the dependencies you need, Python setup tools. So let's run that file again. And there we go. We wrote our spec file. So let's copy that. Dist python rtb.spec. And we're going to place that into the spec folder. I gotta go back out further than that. There it is. So let's take a look at this file. So our name is Python rtslib, wonderful. Our version is 2.1 FB73, that's great. You could write a description here. By default it's unknown, so we could just say we'll just call it that. We give it whatever update you need to do. So here Andy Grover was the one who originally built and created this, and then I just packaged it up here. Our build arch is no arch, that can all stay the same. Name dash unmangled version, that's source code. So I guess just run through this real quick. Name, this is the package that'll come out. Version, that's the version. Release will be the RPM release. So every time you rebuild a package, you should bump the release, although it could be the same source code. That's why versions for this version source code. Release is essentially the version of the RPM. And then this source 0 is the name of the source package that it's going to look for. And that's why we had to rename it to Python rtslib and then our wonderful version there. So I believe that's it. So that's there. So now we can, I'm just going to back out to the root of the RPM build file. And we're going to build the guy. We're going to go RPM, build all, specs, Python rtslib.spec. I didn't like something I did there. Okay, so as you saw, that failed. That failed because I renamed the directory wrong. I called it Python instead of Python. So I just deleted the source, and I'm just going to repeat those steps again very quickly. I'm not going to generate the spec file again, but I am going to edit the setup file to have the right names for me. Python, there, did it right that time. And we're going to put the version of, I've got 71 here, I actually wanted a 73. Typos all over the place today. Copy. Alright. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to back out one. Now I'm going to rename this directory again. I'm going to remove rf, the old one. I'm going to move rts lib to Python. rts lib dash 2.1 fb 73. There we go. So that's definitely what that's right. So now I'm going to create a tarball of that, not extract. .tar.gz. There we go. So that looks better. So let's back out one again, and let's try our RPM build command again. Specs, and there we go. A bunch of stuff's gonna get yelled at us. Okay, so executing clean, exit 0. That looked like it passed. No problem. So let's go take a look in our RPMs folder. So no arch, and there it is. Python RTS lib 2.1 FB 73-1. So now I can install this. And here we go.
Alright, so that's how you build an RPM package from an existing source code. As always, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something. If you got any questions, you want me to go further into that, whatever, let us know in the comments or through whatever social media you wish to get in contact with us. Catch us next week, and most importantly, I got to bring the fun facts back. Hockey's back. NHL's back. I couldn't be more excited. Go Leafs, go, baby.